Happy Sunday, guys. So, it's Sunday. I had a great weekend. I spent time with family. I hope you guys had a great weekend. What do we want to talk about? Sunday's usually like spiritual knowledge day. So, might as well just tell some stories. I'll tell some stories, and then maybe we can divine some divine knowledge from the stories I tell. So, I went to my Uncle Tom passed away. It was end of last year, I believe. Actually, I can tell you. Hold on, give me 1 second. Middle of last year, April last year. And so we planned, I was lucky enough to get born into just a wonderful family. We all got along. Our grandma and grandpa were great people. And so you had family members that wanted to come back and spend time with family. Some were older, some were younger, some we didn't see as much. So my Uncle Tom, I didn't get to see as much. He was a pilot in Vietnam, and spent a lot of time traveling for that reason, and airline pilot after that. I had questions because I always wanted to know, because he had a bunch of medals. He had 3 Distinguished Crosses, which are very difficult to get. Flew several hundred missions, and never got shot down. I don't believe he did go down once, but I thought he went through a thunderstorm. If family is watching this video, please tell me, because you guys said something about it this weekend, and I can't remember if he actually. Pam thought he got shot down twice. Anyway, doesn't matter, right? Amazing. My Uncle Tom was the coolest guy. He told me from a young age. I went over to my aunt and uncle's place, and he was there a lot of times. He'd come visit, and sometimes he'd come visit while mom and dad were at his sister's place. And he always told me to keep it in the tub, Brian. I'll let you guys figure out what that means. That, and he used to. He used to tell me, he's like, make sure you get an education. He was adamant about me going to college. He said, go to college and make sure you get an education, because you're never going to make money by working for someone else. Which is true, and there's always a lack of freedom around that, right? But somebody, when you're facing down, getting shot down all the time, and you can just kind of take it with a grain of salt, that's the way to be, right? I mean, we're all kind of immortal beings anyway, right? But Tom was really super cool. Flew 105s. So, and I had this question. So I asked my cousin Hank, who is my Uncle Tom's first son. Hank, still flying for Delta, flies international flights. I think he flies 777s for Delta. But I asked him, I said, what's so special what was about 105s that made him so susceptible? Because people got shot down a lot in 105s. I think it's a Thunderbolt. You guys can look it up. But SAMs took them out, surface-to-air missiles, and the MiGs back then were way faster but slower. They were subsonic. So the 105s were supersonic. And I guess what Uncle Tom said is, if MiGs would show up, he'd just take one shot at them and hit the afterburners and go. Because if you tried to get in a dogfight with them, that's what took down pilots. Did tell me one story that one time, because Dad and Hank were talking about F-4 Phantoms, and the Navy actually came in and started supplying F-4s. And Hank said there was this happened where they took F-4s and created the same set of sequences that they would have done if they were flying 105s in, and came in with F-4s and just wiped out a whole squadron of MiGs, because the F-4s were slow and maneuverable, but they had more firepower. That was one question I asked, because I don't know. I generally haven't researched too much, of that era. But what would you guys do if you were asked to go to war? He was actually supposed to go in the draft, but then he ended up passing the test to get into the Air Force and became a pilot. Very interesting story that. My dad told that story as well. It's funny how our lives go, right? You might think that it might be going in one direction, but it could be going in a completely different direction. And you're just not aware of which direction it's going until you come to these turning points. A lot of times our lives get directed for us. And if we practice non resistance to the energies around us, we can watch them actually play out around us, right? People project a lot of energy, and if people are projecting energy where they're trying to grab too much, you can watch it, you can participate, but if you're not doing the same thing in return, then you kind of get to watch and see what happens. I think we're seeing a lot of that now, right? Anyway, had a really fun time seeing a lot of family, and they were my favorite people. I grew up and had so many good memories, and I hadn't seen Hank in 10 years, and I hadn't seen so many people in so long. I hadn't seen Pam since I was a kid. It's just nice to be able to spend time with family, right? And yeah, we all live such different lives. I guess one thing that I always had, that I was always, the way I looked at other people seemed like it was a little bit different. Because I've never seen anybody that wasn't family to me, right? We're all here on this, whatever you want to call this, a rock. I don't even think it's made of rock, right? I mean, I don't know. Could be hollow, right? We could have hollow Earth. There could be people living in center Earth people, higher dimensional beings, maybe lower dimensional beings. I don't know. But it doesn't feel like you're separate from any of it, though, right? Every single person, every single one of us is kind of viewing things a little bit differently a lot of times when we're viewing. Maybe some are close than others, so you resonate with some people more than you resonate with other people. But the thing about family that's really interesting to me is that family, you have to, it doesn't matter how different all of you are, you have to recognize that you all came from the same place. And that's why family is so important, right? And if people could look at each other that way, say, look, we're all coming from the same place. It doesn't matter what you think or don't think, or what you believe or don't believe. You're all coming from the same place, and you're going back to the same place, right? Everything comes from the heart and goes back to the heart. So why not just travel back to the heart first, and then just see where that leads you? Yeah. Anyway, I'll let you guys infer what you like from that story. And I love you guys so much. I just want to make a video. It's Sunday night, so I traveled a bunch. I hauled my brother's trailer today. Had to do some unloading, do a little bit of work around the house, ate dinner, relaxed. My boy went home, and so I decided I wanted to make a video for you guys. Maybe I could draw a card. I heard so many cool stories from, okay, well, I might as well tell another story. I'm not ready to get off. I don't have to get off. Which one? Okay, the skiing story. So my Uncle Bruce has 5 kids. Second one was a boy. The rest are girls. So David always was, I guess David was the show off. And I know David. I love you, David. He's the, I love all my cousins. All you guys are so cool. Anyway, David, at a young age, he was the show off. And they always used to love going skiing. Uncle Bruce would take them all out skiing. And they were good skiers. I remember the twins skiing. Twins were the youngest, and I remember the twins skiing at Shasta Lake years ago. And I spent some other times with them, but they'd go out to Lake Oswego and go swimming out in the lake, skiing out in the lake. But I guess David, he really wanted to jump both wakes behind the boat, right? So he'd get out there, he'd get out there, and then he'd shoot across, and he'd hit the first wake, but he wouldn't make it across both wakes. So Uncle Bruce went and bought, this big rubber rope. right? The you used to like tie down like a huge bungee used for tying down loads on the back of trucks, and he threw it in the back of the boat. And I'm not going to be able to tell this as well as you, Barbara, but so pulling on David. David, I think the first go around, he. I mean, this rope's stretching, so he's leaning back. He's trying to ski, and then he comes across and he clears them both, and I think he did it first row. So he, or how did that go? I think maybe, oh, I know what it was. Yeah, so I think maybe he did clear it, and correct me if I'm wrong. And they're like, oh, we can launch you out there farther. So they decided a team effort where you spin the boat one direction, and then you're coming the opposite direction. You let the rope really stretch out, and and David was all the way back, and then as soon as the boat turned and he turned forward, I guess it just launched him straight up in the air. They said it was almost like across the lake. He's like windmilling in the air, and then just crash to the water. Skis, life preserver goes flying everywhere, and I guess that was the last of that. But yeah, I mean, imagine trying to use a rope as a bungee, if it was a real bungee, and really getting stretched behind a boat that was running the opposite direction and just launching you. You see it happen. Yeah, so many good stories. There's some other ones. Maybe I'll share some other ones there. Let's pull a card. If you guys have any really good family stories, tell me in the comments. We all have good family stories, right? Usually it's the ones where, even it's always the most embarrassing ones that are the best ones, right? If it's always a lot easier if we can just laugh at ourselves. Yeah. And show compassion for one another, right? Because it doesn't matter what you're doing or what you're not doing. We all have different experiences, and showing compassion for each other is what makes us family, right? So, love you guys on this Sunday. I don't know what I'll talk about tomorrow. Who knows? But, and I haven't been making videos every day. So, I mean, this week I took, obviously, 3 days off. And I think it's better if I just don't try to make videos kind of like a scheduled thing, right? Life should be spontaneous. Don't you think? I don't know. I'm not really interested in just doing the same thing at the same time. I like it when stuff shows up and stuff happens and weird things happen. Yeah. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.